thank you. Hello all, thank you. Yes, this is another segment of Cooking with Majik. I am your host, Matthew Majik, and I will be cooking for you today some bread, some very special bread. Now, very recently, I had and celebrated my 21st birthday, and as a gift, I received beer in a bread bottle. Wonderful gift, very easy to make. You don't have to be a professional baker to use this, obviously. All the ingredients are dry and are conveniently in this bottle. Very simple. All you need is a mixing bowl, a loaf pan, the beer bread mix, obviously, a whisker spoon, and the beer of your choice. Me personally, I prefer a good Heineken. As I may have mentioned earlier, you do need this at room temperature. So if you're like our Michigander friends, you have your own natural freezer outdoors. So let it set in the room for about 30 minutes or so till it gets about room temperature. If you're in a bit of a hurry, you can dunk it in some warm water, let it set for a few minutes. Do not put hot water on the bottle because that'll upset the enzymes and the yeast, which could make the bread taste a little funky. Right, so let's start mixing. Now, this being in a glass bottle takes a little time to get out, so to speak. Now, you'll have to bear with me. This part gets a little dry. Not happy with you. Magic towel, ladies and gentlemen, magic towel. And that is it. Alright. Now we will add in our Heineken. I always like to make, if you will, a little hole and raise up the sides before adding your liquid to your dry. That goes with any baking, really. It just makes it easier, having like a little pocket. And just slowly incorporate it, because it does get a little foamy. Got to make sure all of the dry touches the wet, because if you see there, what happens is the dry powder kind of creates a little barrier, and not all of it gets wet, which is why I recommend using a whisk instead of a spoon, or your hands, you know. As you can see, the powder is now well incorporated with the liquid beer. The only downside of using a whisk instead of your hands is that it's quite difficult, as you can see, to get all the batter off. Excuse me a second while I shake this off. Now, with most breads, when they're in dough form, you usually have to let them set, usually covered with a moistened cloth or a paper towel, and let them set for a little while. You can chill them, yes, depending on what kind of bread you're making. And then after a while, it raises up and you have to punch it down, let it set again. But since we are using El Cheapo, we don't have to do that. All we have to do now is grease up a loaf pan. And I think I have just the one. Now, you need just a standard 1 pound loaf pan for this. You can use glass or you can use metal. I personally prefer the glass. And for the grease, well, you can use just a normal old stick of butter. So you just want to make sure that the entire pan is greased. You don't want to miss any tight spots. This butter is actually really, really soft, so I've been letting it set. So I'm gonna use my trusty butter knife. Make sure I get all the way around. Now we just add the batter. Alright, so now that you have your bread in your loaf pan all mixed together and ready to go, preheat your oven to 350 and set it for 50 to 60 minutes. Son of a bitch, this is gonna take all day. Oh well. Whoa, this oven's got a hot rack. I'm gonna set it for 50 and check on it. Now, bread itself is actually very sensitive, so it's a good idea, even though this is easy bake bread, to keep checking on it at least every 10 to 20 minutes, just to make sure you don't have any huge bubbles. And if you do, simply just take a fork and lightly poke it. If you have an interest in bread, well, lucky you, there's hundreds and hundreds of different ways to make and bake bread. Well, for those of you who are interested, I highly recommend Artisan Bread 5 Minutes a Day. It is a fantastic book. I highly recommend to anyone who's curious. Now, this particular type of bread, even though it is beer bread, it is not alcoholic, so it's alright to serve to youngsters. In fact, if you really want to play a joke on them, tell them it is beer bread and see if they can pretend to get drunk on it. It'll be a blast. Now, with bread, as I mentioned earlier, you have the whole world open to you for ingredients. You can use bananas, almonds, raisins. You can even serve it up with a little bit of EVOO. But me personally, I like a little bit of spinach dip with mine. Goes down good. Nice and creamy and healthy. That for 10 minutes now. It's nice and cool. We didn't film this part because it's boring. But we did do something interesting to spice it up a little. We threw on some mild cheddar cheese and melted it on. Now, for those of you who don't know how to take cheese and place it on top of bread, there's a special video for you at the end. We need someone to sample the bread for the video.
Like a pro.
What kind of bread is this?
Beer bread.
What kind of bread?
Beer bread.
What's beer bread?
It's made from
Some stuff out of that bottle over there.
What do you think?
We need something. We need something to dip it in.
Extra virgin olive oil. We got spinach dip. What do you want?
Alright, Melson, be objective.
It's pretty good. What is it? What's the... Did you guys make this?
Mm-hmm. Made it with a bottle of Heineken and flour, yeast, salt. The usual. What regular bread's made out of.
Good job.
Thanks. Dan Majik, everyone.
Magic!
Oh, Dan Majik, everyone. Now, once you're done sampling your bread, if you have leftovers, like me, I'm lonely and don't have very many people over. So I like to wrap mine in tin foil and leave it out on the counter. You can put it in the fridge, it'll last a little longer, but I like it being at room temperature. So, oh, I forgot to also mention, when you're checking your bread, feel free to use a toothpick if you're unsure. Poke it in the center, and if it pulls out clean, you know it's good to go. This has been Baking with Magic. Stay strong, intrepid heroes. I like that. Cheese bread. Really simple instructions. Quick and easy recipe. Stir together 1 bottle of beer bread mix and 1 can of beer, 12 ounces, at room temperature. Bake in a grease standard loaf pan at 350 for 50 to 60 minutes. Son of a bitch, this is going to take all day.
I hit the wrong button.
Hey!
I'm sorry. Okay, let me cue you in. Don't come in. This is like a cue. Because apparently I get nervous without the sound off. Oh, okay. I'm gonna die. Why do you make the babies cry? But again, you don't do a lot of the work because I write all the material.
That's okay. I have talent, anyway.
That's it. Look at that face, ladies and gentlemen. That's the face of death. He knows his end is not. He's making bread. It has a taste.
Tastes like bread.
Oh, good. Our goal's complete. Or at least. Whoa, we're halfway there.
Whoa, living on your bread. Living on your bread.
Take my loaf and we'll make it, I swear. What has happened to our material?
Take my loaf, we'll make it, I swear. Love, where's my cup of coffee? Here it is in this cup. Now, bread itself has been around for over 30,000 years. And like I said, it's traveled through many, many different cultures. So, but this particular bread sucks my balls!